Located in the junction between Berry Street and Lee Street is this gorgeous Georgian Gothic church known as the St. Luke's Church, more popularly known as the Bombed Out Church. It's only a throwaway distance from Rodney Street, which is just literally 2 minutes behind it, and then the universities of Liverpool and John Moores University, along with both of the main cathedrals, the Anglican and the Metropolitan Cathedral, is only 2 minutes walk distance from itself. This building has an incredible, fascinating story. So let's go in and tell you a little bit more about the amazing church. The story of St. Luke's Church began in 1791 when Lord Edward Smith Stanley, 12th Earl of Derby, gifted the site to Church of England on the condition that it's always used for a church and no burials take place inside the building or within its ground. The building of the actual church was a family affair. It was built by a father and son team. In 1805, John Foster Sr., the surveyor of Liverpool Corporation, began creating an Anglican church, but soon after he had to put the design on hold as it changed to accommodate a concert hall. In 1811, John Foster Sr. continued with the building process. He was then joined by his son, John Foster Jr., who was also an architect with the same name as his father. Finally, in 1831, it was John Foster Jr. Who took over the actual completion of the church, and it was opened in that year. The church was given the name of St. Luke. St. Luke was one of the four evangelists, along with Matthew, Mark, and John in the Christian tradition, who wrote the four Gospels in the New Testament. The church was groundbreaking in a lot of ways. It features the first metal bell frame in the world. Previously, all bell frames were made out of wood. The church also had two main church bells named Peace and Good Neighborhood. That was a reflection of the aspiration on which St. Luke's was built. Essentially, St. Luke's was built to serve, connect, and connect the community, and it reflected the surrounding community. Those two bells were located where the clock tower is today, probably just halfway. Sadly, during the bombing that took place, they were destroyed. What you see behind me, just up there, is possibly the first ever live bird. While the bombing naturally destroyed the church and all the stained glasses, it did leave behind the odd fragments here and there. And in 2011, when the custodians of the church were clearing this aspect of the church, they noticed the live bird on one of the windows. It's actually located next to the main entrance of what would have been Bold Place, facing Bold Street today. It's an incredible find. I mean, how they spotted that, it's so small, it's black, it's still visible, and it's incredible, and it's a great find as well. Some have suggested it's the first ever live bird, so predating that one of Carl Bernard Bartel of the Royal Library building by over a century. I mean, who knows? The chances are they're right in the assessment, but it definitely is a beautiful find. And for a Scouser, the live bird is important, just as a symbolism of to indicate this is our home, and to see that this has been here for over 100 years, 200 years now is breathtakingly beautiful thing to see. St. Luke became known more as the Doctor's Church simply because of the fact that it was close to Rodney Street, and Rodney Street was home to many of the doctors. It also continued to be used as a concert hall and as a church until the Philharmonic Hall was opened in Hope Street in 1849. During the Second World War, when England was fighting against Germany, in spring 1941, 110 years after St. Luke's was created, German Luftwaffe bombed Liverpool over a 7-day period. This took place during May and became known as the May Blitz. Eventually, around 4,000 people in Merseyside were killed during the Second World War. St. Luke's was hit by an incendiary device, a device essentially that goes on fire and obviously burns everything. in the early hours, and the building blazed for 3 days. But thankfully, no lives were lost since it was hit in the early hours. Once the fire were extinguished, only burnt-out shell of the structure remained. The bombing destroyed the church. It ripped through the roof. It made the whole church hollow. It burnt all the furnishing. It broke all the glasses. And it's strange. I mean, when you come here now, see the hollow church with just the four walls and the sky above it. It's a very eerie feeling. Yeah, I mean, if the bomb had destroyed such a huge structure like this, just imagine what it would have done to just a normal terrace houses and the people living inside it with flesh and bones. It's a difficult thing to imagine, and sadly it's still happening all over the world, this type of thing as well. It's upsetting. Between 1941 and 1948, the burnt-out church was left as a symbol of people's spirit to thrive in adversity. It became a stark reminder to the elders who went through the war. It became colloquially known as the bombed-out church. In 1948, the Liverpool City Council proposed to knock down the shell of St. Luke's and leaving just the tower intact. They wanted to make a way for a new ring road, but that proposal didn't go ahead, even though some called for damaged building to be demolished. The council instead decided to serve it as a standing living war memorial to the horrific event that took place during the Second World War. The city council decided to develop a surrounding grounds of church into a garden for public. That was the fashion for other bombed out churches in Europe during that time. But the gates to the church itself remained closed. In 2003, artistic director Ambrose Reynolds, the founder of the Liverpool arts company Urban Strawberry Lounge, began a series of events. He launched something called the Finest Hour Sound Archive, recording memories of surviving bliss witnesses. But since the program began in 2003, over 60 years after many participants had gone through the war, sadly many of those participants had already passed away. Nevertheless, they were able to capture 5.5 days of audio recording, which now they have made available online for people to hear. 4 years later, in 2007, Ambrose Reynolds was granted stewardship by City Council, so he decided to open the church to public for the first time. A visitor centre was opened, supplying tourists with local information and selling tickets to various other attractions throughout the city. Later, Ambrose decided to dissolve the Urban Strawberry Lounge due to cuts in Arts Council funding and focused entirely on the church. The City Council also announced plans to reconsider the use of the site due to budget constraints, but thankfully 30,000 local people signed petition against potential deal with a local hotel chain. In 2014, crowdfunding, which essentially is a modern day form of donation, raised 20,000 for upgrading the facilities and services. Subsequently, a small bistro was opened with that money. Today, the actual church stands as a lasting remaining relic from the Blitz. The whole space is used as a public space for arts, music, theatre, outdoor cinema, and other such events thanks to the enthusiasm and efforts of volunteers. To see the latest events and opening hours, the church does have a website which you can go to, and maybe you'll be lucky enough to find an event or on the day that you visit. It's also a unique choice as a wedding venue. Inside the actual church itself, there are historical displays with great information and photos giving insight into the devastation that the great city suffered. The entrance fee, there is no entrance fee as such. It's ultimately free, but they do ask for £1 contribution just to get in. Within the garden you have this incredible moving statue of World War One, the football Tucson Trench game between two arch enemies, Germany and England. It's fitting that it's located in a setting such as this. It's just ideal. Front of the World War One football truce statue is the Irish Famine Memorial. This was sculpted by Eamon O'Doherty in 1998, commemorating Irishmen who died as a result of the Irish famine in the middle of 19th century. I grew up in Liverpool, and even as a teenager I've gone past this church so many times, and I've marvelled at the beauty of it and how fascinating it looked, but never thought it worthy coming here. I thought, you know what, it's only a church, it's only a feature, probably worthwhile just looking at it for a couple of minutes or whatnot and then just walk past. But this is the first time I've actually come here, and it's very, very poignant, emotional, and it's a strange place. I mean, it's not your glamorized, carpeted church that you expect, but I feel that this captures Liverpool more than anything else, and I never thought I'd say that. You know, you look at a building or a feature that's broken and you think it's derelict, you know, how could that capture the city, you know, the spirit of a city? But what this place is a symbolism for the bravery, for the need to learn from history and also to appreciate it and its context in the modern world, and to essentially just to realize that, you know, what violence, how destructive violent act can be. I mean, just imagine how stunning this church was in its full glory. I mean, if it's beautiful like this, just with its framework and its gardens, what would it be, you know, if everything was here? So yeah, it's an incredibly emotional place, and I'm super happy that I've come here today. I'm feeling quite emotional actually. It is very, very touching, it's very moving, and I think personally, Liverpool needs a place more like this than a 5-star hotel or some other silly commercialized, you know, rubbish that's, you know, that they're always thinking of coming up with. And you know, I feel a bit ashamed as well that I've left it such late, you know, to come here. But like they said, you know, it's good to make a start, right? And I've made a start, and I'm glad I've come. And yeah, it's been incredible. Highly recommended for everyone to come. Definitely come here. The work that these guys are doing, the volunteers and everyone else, is absolutely amazing. So full respect to everyone who's maintaining this this church itself, and to all the people who passed away and who sadly have lost somebody and whatnot. You know, may they rest in peace.